Welcome to the Fear and Hunger New Gods tier list. I'm going to be ranking based off of their general strength, potential strength, and general legacy. Question mark on that one? There will be speculation for ending the New Gods to keep them out of the featless category, as we do play as their normal version, so we have at least a general idea of their strengths and weaknesses pre-New Godom. Coming up first is Valteil, an enlightened soul of the past, and probably the oldest new god we know by name and lore. He made a library featured in Fear and Hunger 1 that all enlightened souls after him will spend a near lifetime in studying. His presence exceeds his own time in Mahabre, as these studies contribute to the at the time most current enlightened soul, Valteil, but also Nash'rah, giving him B tier due to his sheer relevance, for real. I don't even know if this statue depicts him, or if they're just of something, but they do scatter around the library grounds, so that's kind of why it's the image. Coming up next is our second most senior member on the New Gods tier list, Nash'rah, doom and terror of the modern man, the great wizard of the eastern sanctuaries, and in Fear and Hunger 2, a certified yapper. Feared is an almost understatement for this guy, a new god who ascended and proceeds to denounce the new gods, as he's so enlightened that he sees past the fairy tales and realizes the ascension does nothing positive and is just one giant cycle that will continue to perpetrate replacements. His power surpasses his mind though. He's an immortal with the highest proficiency of dark magics. Nash'rah is truly a being to be feared. Top tier character also. The Golden God, the dominating one, Francqui of the Fellowship. He became known to be a tyrant in Mahabre, tightly guarding the throne of Ascension, and became disliked by the Fellowship over his ways. While his direct involvement is unknown, it's known that he used war to fuel his agenda of becoming stronger. He's the toughest new god the player will fight in the first Fear and Hunger game, if you don't talk to him of course, because you just stun lock him. And the de facto leader of the current new gods, Francqui demands attention, respect, and will stop at nothing to get it. Putting on a coat of molten gold and grabbing onlookers' heads, forcing their eyes to stare at the burning deity, makes the guy at least A tier. He's debatably feared, but he doesn't give feared, you know? Like he's okay. Coming up next is Megamind himself, Valteil. But seriously, in terms of enlightened souls, he falls short, or rather he falls down a pit in a dank, dark library. It's a very cool fight for sure, with the scariest track in Fear and Hunger 1 being shared with Nash'rah, but lacking any real power. He is pretty much the worst enlightened soul we know, with his only contribution being the birthing of the Ugly Lord of Flies, which are essentially flesh golems, but he couldn't make them not sprout mold for whatever reason. Yeah, D tier for you, buddy. Chambara, a once tortured poet, is now a tortured new god. He's the most outwardly sinister of the Fellowship, and it's just a psychopath who took a little inspiration from his own self-inflicted CTE. He decides to flay and deflesh countless beings to put them through a pain he believes to be art. It's pretty funny because he's actually the inspiration for Lagarde, who lets himself be tortured while captured, and it results in him dying if you're too slow. So if you're ever too slow and Lagarde dies, you have Chambara to thank. And I think putting him in A is just right for him being a freaky little guy. Up next is Nilvan, the last of the commonly known Fellowship. The Endless Soul Holder spent some time with the Lagarde and gave birth to the girl who would ascend to become the god of Fear and Hunger. All of this, and yet she teeters on being thrown in featless, but at the end of the day, being a part of the Fellowship I think has some merit, so she can spend some time in D with Valteil. Nosramus, the secret fifth member of the Fellowship, an alchemist and a smarty with the discovery of immortality. Debatable, new god, depending on if those who go through the enlightenment path are considered new gods or not. I'm considering them to be on par at the very least, as the text and mystique surrounding Nosramus is very kin to the others of the Fellowship. Nosramus, by all accounts, probably isn't the strongest, but due to the longevity and passing of the knowledge of Path of Enlightenment to Enki, has full marks for being a well-versed new god. B tier for me. Up next is the most controversial character in Fear and Hunger, Lafrad. The actual weakest new god in terms of gameplay, Lagarde talks a big game but drops the ball. In Fear and Hunger 2, despite not being an actual new god, continues to try and carry on his original ideas from Fear and Hunger 1, but fails and becomes the literal counterpart to real-life Adolf Hitler. You can't make this shit up. This guy's an embarrassment. Le Fraud tier. Coming up next is getting into a little bit of speculation tier for the upcoming 4 entries, so bear with me. These are the ending D characters, given that we know our characters do reign supreme over previous New Gods just to get to this point, but in most runs, it will be with a party and hardly ever a true one-on-one. That being said, it is doable with all given equipment in a run, so this is where it gets tricky because I do not believe canonically all these characters should jump to the top of the feared category just due to gameplay reasons. Ending D, Enki. Speculations start. Enki is the opposite of Valteil in terms of design. The brain is locked away and obscured for Enki, being an enlightened soul. I can't help but think the helmet is symbolic for his mind being contained, or maybe even obstructed. I believe his New God Ascension is the worst possible outcome for him. C tier. Ending D, Darce. Unlike Enki, New God Darce could be the best outcome for her, given she's a dominating soul who insists on being hellbent of trying to service someone else during her lifetime. Ascending and losing her connections to others would probably be more fulfilling, and much like Francqui, she can rule with an iron fist. Like I said, pure speculation, but B tier. Ending D, Kahara. The least altered of the group, perhaps the Endless Soul was anticipating this moment since Kahara's birth, and the lack of change in Kahara shows he was prepared on a level. Destined for something great, its relieved ascension happened, as opposed to the other thing. B tier. Ending D, Ragnarvalder. Imagine Ragnarvalder, but just with an actual insatiable appetite for fighting. That's kind of how I picture this ascension. I'm gonna put him in fear tier. I don't think I have to really explain more. If he is a cruel god, he'll just start killing people. And nobody's gonna stop him. Enki ascending. In Fear and Hunger 2, Enki is pretty much confirmed to have gone through the path of enlightenment from Fear and Hunger 1. Like earlier with Nosramus, I'm considering him as a new god. Enki is an amazing scholar and magics user. He engrossed himself in such knowledge he began to pen books devoted to teachings of gods that had been lost to time by the mass majority of the world. Given the hardships you have to go through as solo Enki for his S run, and as its canon, makes him a powerful guy. A tier. The Radiating One and the Tainted One are currently complete mysteries and featless, though both are huge fans of collecting knickknacks, so that's pretty chill, I guess. And finally, the Heartless One. A new god that's been not only locked away in an alternate dimension by the power of an old god, but is the hardest boss in the Fear and Hunger franchise, harder than aspects of old gods, than random bear traps, and harder than failed coin flips while raiding cursed ancient texts. While little is known about the Heartless One in terms of lore, this new god ascends the idea of needing lore to be placed. She is feared, and is a fight that you need intimate knowledge of the game and a good setup to beat. So I think it justifies her being put at the top of fear tier, because it strikes fear into the actual player that's playing the game. It's scary stuff, man.
Little post editing / mid editing little update. I accidentally forgot Nosramus up here in A tier. I said B tier. I definitely think Nosramus is B tier. As far as the rest of the list, it looks pretty good. But if I had to arrange this by like order from like left to right, Enki is definitely going to be up front. Nosramus is probably going to be ahead of Valteil. And everything else looks pretty good. Obviously, I wish I knew about Nash'rah, like, you know, how actually immortal he is, because as a player, you can't kill him, like, ever, but he does kind of get one-tapped by, like, the aspect of Grogaroth, but you find out that he lived through that also, so I don't really know what's up with that, all things considered, but the Heartless One, I think it deserves to be the #1 feared. Thank you.
I hope you guys enjoyed. Agree or disagree, we can all agree on one thing. We need a little fraud redemption arc. Thanks for watching. My name's Collin, and I love video games. If you want more Fear&Hunger, thanks for watching. My name's Collin. I love video games. If you want more Fear&Hunger, fuck. Thanks for watching. My name's Collin, and I love video games. If you want more Fear and Hunger content, let me know.